Did you all get it out of your system? Are you done with the pipes now? Jesus, man. I bring back pipes for one stream and this is how you treat it. Oh shoot, I forgot to turn on the camera. Yeah, how are we doing? Hasn't been that long since the last stream, but music is a bit loud. Oh, give me a moment. Yeah, I'm just trying out a bunch of different music for streams. Today's a little bit different from all the other streams. What up, Limit? Hello, hello. Thank you for the resub, by the way. 5 months? 5 months, almost half a year. Alright, today is just going to be a very chill dev stream today because, to be honest, I don't know what we're going to be working on and I haven't actually prepared anything in terms of, I don't know, kind of the memory arc. The soundboards are back. Ooh. Today, Limit will cry. Why am I gonna cry? I'm not that depressed, am I? Hold on, give me a second. There we go. Y'all miss your pipes, don't you? Yeah, anyways, we're gonna be doing a very chill stream today. Just stuff like, I don't know. We're just going to be cleaning up some of the MCP stuff. I have done a lot of work off stream this week because I've happened to actually have a bit of time. Not during the weekdays though, like after streams these last 2 days at least. And I kind of want to share what I've been doing for the past little bit. Hold on. Let me just share this with you. I almost clicked stop stream for a second. Whoops. Alright. My sound is broken. Your sound is broken. I think sounds are fine right now. So, where are we at with things right now? Pretty much, you guys already know about all the MCPs. You guys already know about the MCP stuff. This is already integrated into JEISN, and before the Friday stream, I managed to get the rest of the integration done in like an hour. I fucking speed ran that shit. So we now have MCP inside of JEISN, and we actually saw it working on Saturday's solo stream with her internet access and stuff. So now we should be able to, if I just look at my configs, I've added MCP as another kind of thing inside of JEISN's operations, and I'm treating it, I kind of did a little bit of refactoring to how we're doing operations. Hello Peaceful Dreamer, welcome to the stream. But yeah, basically, we now have the concept of roles instead of types. Types is referring to kind of like the model or the what the model expects and what it outputs. And roles are actually what they're used for. So something like MCP is the same thing as text-to-text. They use the same models and all of that, but they fulfill different roles. So this one is specifically for MCP tool calling, and text-to-text is specifically for personality responses. And so if we take a look inside of our code now, we have the old original op types with all the familiar stuff, but now we also have operation roles, which also includes the new MCP stuff. And the rest of this is pretty much the same, just with the addition of MCP as one of the available operations, or specific operation, I guess. It kind of works. I tested it out with the internet access on Saturday's stream, and it works okay. It's just that my MCP server for internet searching is pretty bad. So it's not the greatest in the world, but if I use other MCPs that other people have created, then I'm sure those would work just fine. That's it for the changes on JEISN side. Was there anything else for JEISN? I don't think so. Yeah, that was pretty much it for updates to JAISYN core itself. But there was a bunch of other stuff that I've been working on besides JAISYN. Well, still related to JAISYN, but not directly on JAISYN herself. If you guys remember from Friday's stream, we tried to do a chill stream with me and JAISYN, but it ended up just being a solo stream for me. Mainly because there was a problem with generating speech and the latency from generated speech. So I thought it was a problem with Discord, but it actually wasn't a problem with Discord. RiceRoll lied about that. Well, he didn't know, but at the time, but there was a different problem. But his problem was completely different from mine, and it's just the fact that my code is shitty, but that's besides the point. In any case, I decided that I wanted to make a different application where I could talk to JAISYN without needing to have her join voice calls and all of that stuff, because I kind of don't want to have to deal with Discord's API being down and all of that sort of stuff, right? And so I created this new application. I'm calling it App JAISYN Local Audio. And essentially this is like having a one-on-one call with JAISYN, right? You won't be able to have multiple speakers, you won't be able to have multiple people, at least for now, but you are able to connect this to JAISYN and talk to her completely normal. Stay totally local. Staying totally local is fine for like the operations, all of that stuff, but if you're going to be doing streaming and whatever, you need to have at least Discord integration, because pretty much everybody uses Discord to talk, right? You could technically use the local audio application to hook her up to her own Discord account and her own Discord client. And that way she would have Discord integrations, just like any other user. But that's something in the future, right? I still need to add like speaker recognition if I want that to happen. But yeah, this is a new application. It's pretty bare bones, but there's no need for external APIs or whatever. It runs completely local, completely offline if you want as well. I will probably push this to my GitHub repository once I polish some things out, but it's really not that complicated, right? It's just these 5 folders. They aren't even that big, really. I'm using, what is this, Silero VAD, voice audio detection, to detect audio and splice and kind of do the same thing that we're doing on the Discord side, where we consider any pause to be the end of speech, and a pause that's long enough will be sent to JAISYN for a response, and also having like idle talk and all of that stuff. I still don't understand something. How can you make her hear in Discord? The speech recognition isn't working through Discord for me. What library are you using? I'm using Discord Pi, and specifically with the voice receive extension. Let me just, no. Discord voice receive. I'm using this one by I May Have Bork Edit. This is specifically a Discord Pi extension, and it allows you to kind of record speech, but also get information about the user of who's speaking and all of that kind of stuff, right? You can check out my GitHub if you want to see that. Why does it always take me? Unsloth. Where is my project? But yeah, basically inside of audio, sync. Sync is when you connect to a voice call and you use a sync with the voice receive extension. This function, this write function, will always be ran when that person is speaking, not when they're not speaking. And it is split per user. So you can get the data, the actual audio data, as well as the information about the user themselves. And that's how I'm doing a lot of the parsing for this sort of stuff. If you were to avoid using a Discord bot and were to give it its own Discord account, however, like a normal user, then I'm not sure if the Discord client themselves indicate who is speaking. I'm pretty sure they do because we have the green indicators whenever you're in a Discord call talking. But if that isn't the case, if you aren't able to directly extract who the user is, then you would have to use like voice recognition model. You would have to use something for voice recognition to label who is speaking, and you would have to train it on people's voices so the model knows who is speaking and who isn't. But yeah, that was a bit of a side tangent. Anyways, I'm probably going to be using this from now on. It doesn't have a lot of the functionalities such as inserting requests and all of that stuff, so I'm still going to have to use this Discord bot, but specifically only for its slash commands, not for talking in VC and stuff. But on the point of J.A. Eisen and her speech lagging a lot during calls and all that stuff, it wasn't as bad on Saturday, but it was impossibly bad to talk to on Friday, right? And that's just the variability of what happens when you're talking or when you're using third-party services, right? Like, let's check out, is OpenAI down? Because I use OpenAI for pretty much everything in terms of text-to-speech as well as the actual personality generation, right? And as you can see here on their page, it is down pretty often, right? There are typically a lot of problems, especially with their API and with ChatGPT in general. And so we really want to move away from relying on OpenAI for a lot of our stuff, at least for my case, right? Probably most of you are running locally, or maybe you are using OpenAI for text, but then you're using speech with a different service or something. And so I kind of want to start moving away from OpenAI. It's kind of a long overdue task and something that I did want to actually start doing earlier last month, but I never got around to. But I have started to get around to replacing some parts of J.E. Eisen's stack with actually fully locally ran models and stuff. Ideally, you want a backup option. Well, we had a bunch of backup options, right? We have a bunch of options. We have like, at least for text, right? Or text to speech. We had like Fish, we had OpenAI. Azure, they like closed my service because I didn't upgrade or specify that I wanted free tier and I was too lazy to do so. And these two TTSs are synthesized so they aren't as expressive as AI's normal voice. So I wanted to stick with an AI model, but these two recently have been unbearably slow as well as quite laggy. And so I finally took it upon myself to try and train a local model so I can run things completely locally just for consistency and speed. And I actually started that yesterday night after last stream, and I want to share the progress that I kind of made with it. So I gave it a try with MelloTTS. If you haven't used MelloTTS before, let me just put it up. This is MelloTTS. It's pretty easy to install and get started using. If you are gonna use MelloTTS though, I would suggest downloading it inside of a Linux system, like Linux directly or WSL for Windows users, just because a lot of the installation is much easier that way. And training is like, I couldn't get training to work on the Windows side. So I had to make a new WSL, which has been a long overdue task for me. Yeah. This is kind of like the default of what you get from MelloTTS. I did run it with all the different options and stuff. So we have the default English voice.
Did you ever hear a folk tale about a giant turtle?
Pretty basic. This is the US one.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-state aerobic capacity.
I don't know why. Okay, is it just me, or does the English US one sound Chinese? And I can say that because I'm Chinese. But
Test
does it not sound like a Chinese person is saying it?
that progressively gets more difficult as it continues.
It has the accent underneath. Now you're right. Yeah. This isn't E in US. This is E in Chinese, I swear. And then this is also a default one.
Text to read.
So overall, the base model itself is pretty good, and I could use this in conjunction with RVC to get a consistent voice for J.A. Eisen, which I could have done. But I wanted to directly, I wanted to try and fine tune it to directly get J.A. Eisen's voice generating from these models. And so in order to do that, you need to actually download their repository, because they have a bunch of scripts and tools that you can use in order to, well, train your model and stuff. But it doesn't really work on Windows without a lot of fixing and patching. So I put it into WSL and ran it overnight. It took a very long time, but it ended up coming to the end here, and it just failed at the very end, which is fine. It's only the last 1,000 iterations or so. And I did 10,000 epochs with only about 20 minutes of, no, with only about 10 minutes of data, right? It really didn't take that long to make this dataset, but this dataset is pretty bad, right? This is just OpenAI plus RVC, so J.A. Eisen's current voice. And so we have, in our dataset, we have stuff like this.
A VTuber or virtual YouTuber is an online entertainer who uses a virtual avatar generated using computer graphics.
Right? It's just J.A. Eisen's normal voice. She's reading the wiki page for VTubers and whatever. There's 77 samples here on average, 10 seconds each, for a total of 700 seconds or about 11-12 minutes of audio. We've also got this metadata.list, which is basically a transcription of all of the audio files here. We used their script to pre-process it all into PyTorch weights and all of that stuff. And then using the default kind of settings, I don't know, you can look at the hyperparameters here. But this is basically what we use to train J.A. Eisen, new voice. And I wanted to show it off. I wanted to show off a full version of it today, but let me just show you the results of what I got.
Here is a longer sample of text.
Wait, that's not it. That is not right. Hold on. What? What happened to my Conda? Conda activates. Is this it? No? Oh, fuck it. Info and just get MeloTTS. There we go. And so if I run Python infer, what do I need to put in for infer? Takes the checkpoint path. And we're going to use the 29,000 whatever ETH is. And for text, we'll put this is a sample text. Probably won't be able to hear the problem that I'm talking about, but it's good enough for now. -o is outputs / a. gonna take a little bit to load, but it should be sub-second generation speed. Pretty good. And now we have this.
This is a sample text.
You can kind of hear it there. The pronunciation is like not great and the noisiness is there, but there was a different sample text that I was testing on that really showed the problem. Hold on. I believe it was the one I used for testing speeds for everything. Yes, the Fitness Gram Pacer test. It should be like 1 second or so. I'm not sure how fast this is gonna be. It shouldn't be that slow. Yep, there we go. And now if we listen to this.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-state aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues. The 20-meter pacer test will begin in 30 seconds. Line up at the...
Yeah, as you can hear, the intonation is pretty terrible. And a lot of the consonants, like the G's and whatever, are kind of lopped off in some places. And the pacing is pretty bad because, I don't know, it just doesn't pause at the end of sentences and stuff sometimes. And the reason for that is because my data set is not good enough, right? 10,000 epochs should be more than enough to train most models. However, I was talking to Noelle off stream about this, and she kind of said that 20 minutes? I told you that you needed 1 hour of audio. So I need like 6 times more data than I have right here, which shouldn't be too hard. But at the same time, this dataset audio is not the greatest. Like
In agencies, a VTuber's character and other assets are often the intellectual property of the
I don't know. I was contemplating this for a long time, right? I want to change J.E. Eison's voice really badly, like for the time being. Because every time I have to listen to J.E. Eison, I can't help but hear my own voice in it because it is my own voice just pitched up. Like, the thing is, this voice that we have for current J.E. Eison, and if we use OpenAI as the backend for it, it peaks so often, it's grating on my ears, and it sounds like me, and it makes me uncomfortable. So I'm gonna change up J.E. Eison's bass voice to be different from mine. So just a warning on that. Things are gonna be a little bit different very soon. Maybe by next stream she might sound completely different. Your voice is angelic. My voice is... You're calling this angelic.
agency. Former corporate VTubers may transition to streaming independently.
Oh my god, my ears, man. It's fucking dying of cringe.
Harley_ is now following.
Thank you, Harley, for the follow. I just learned my first coding language, HTML. So I want to check out my first website at... Yo, such a based first message. Guys, why isn't this link working for me? Guys, where's the website? It's not working. Why is this site not reached? No. I guess you need the collective conscious voice, mixing multiple instinct voices. I'm probably going to do something like that. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do for the voice. But I'm thinking, I'm going to do kind of the same strategy where I had, I'm not going to be using OpenAI per se, but I'm going to be using some sort of base speech as like an input to RVC, and I'm going to train an RVC model to mimic and kind of mix several voices that I want to combine together. And so the voices that I'm going to be inputting into it, I'm still not sure what I'm going to be using. I have taken a look around on like Hugging Face and whatever. Not too many tabs. Hugging Face, Hugging Face. Go for a man's voice. Oh, it takes a guy to be best girl. So true. But yeah, I've been looking around on Hugging Face, looking at some of the audio data sets, and I've been trying to find a good kind of base audio I could use as input for RVC in order to generate a data set with a data set to train a Mello TTS model. But a lot of these are just not like clean audio samples, right? Dude, I need to log in. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah, like a lot of these audio samples aren't the greatest. Like if I look at this Common Voice 17, and I come down to EN over here, if I play this.
Every evening,
like what is this? What is this, an Indian scam call center? What is
the
that?
dogs in our neighborhood are howling.
The fucking fan in the background. And listen to this one.
A donor has since been found.
I don't understand what he's saying. I don't understand. The thing is, a lot of these data sets, I'm pretty sure a lot of these data sets are used to train speech-to-text models and not text-to-speech models, right? They do have the actual sentences here, that's great, but the thing is, they don't sort them out by whether they are clean audio samples or whether they are not. And so this is pretty much only usable for something like speech-to-text, which we don't need, right? Because Whisper is good enough for that case. If I come over and look at a different one, a lot of these other ones, like, oh, Star Rails may be good, but at the same time is not filtered by language and is all Japanese. I mean, you can probably filter or go and use only the English files, but at the same time, I kind of don't want to use wait, look. Never mind, this one doesn't even have the folders. But in any case, I don't want to really use data from non-consenting voice actors. And so I kind of decided, like, after looking at all of these, none of these fucking work for me, okay? None of these fucking work for me. None of them are like fucking consenting or clean audio samples. And so you could use Fourier transform to clean audio. I would need to use Fourier transform custom for every single sample and then manually go through the samples to determine if they are like clean enough for my standards. Jenny dataset? Where's the Jenny dataset? Jenny dataset, TTS dataset.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13.
Yeah, I guess this works.
Mrs. March had consented to the visit rather reluctantly. Home now looked bare and dismal as she thought of it. Work grew harder than ever, and she felt that she was No one said a word about it, but Sally offered to dress her hair.
Yeah, okay. The Jenny dataset is pretty good. I could use this. It does have an accent underneath, but I think RVC, after it goes through RVC, it shouldn't be as noticeable. Oh god. It shouldn't be as noticeable. But I also want to try and... I don't know. I was gonna say I want to try and make my own data set, but it's also like a fucking hella big task. And I kind of just want to finish fine-tuning J.E. Eison's new voice as soon as possible so I don't have to keep listening to the fucking chalkboard scratching ass voice in my ears every single stream. Yeah, I might go with this, honestly. I might use this, but yeah, I'm gonna be training off stream because training the model does take a lot of my GPU, and I don't want this stream to lag till next year or something. Limit Discord voice dataset, sweatshop. Make your own dataset only takes roughly 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, but the thing is, if I make my own dataset, when I say make my own dataset, I mean do the recordings myself, and have to speak for an hour, right? I don't really want to do that because my fucking throat is not good at the moment. It's not good at the moment, even though I am streaming right now. It's still not going to be like good quality audio or anything, and I'm afraid that my own voice will kind of influence the output of RVC, kind of like how when I input my own voice through RVC through J.E. Ison's model, it sounds exactly like me, but if I were to pass a female voice, then it would sound like J.E. Ison. You need to be in a good state to speak? Yeah, exactly. Like, my voice has gotten so raspy over the past week, which is why I've been doing a lot more solo streams lately, because I want to give my voice a little bit of a break. Give me a second. I need to go get some water. Alright. I saw the point about hiring a Fiverr artist to do the voice lines, but the thing is, I don't know how many people would be willing to do the voice acting work if they know it's going to training in AI per se. And yeah, there is a lot of extra costs when it comes to trying to hire people specifically to make AI datasets and all of that stuff. I'm sure someone in Discord would be willing to do it. Yeah, me. I'm the one that's going to be doing it. No, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to make a dataset if you're in a better condition, but this is already here, right? And this is already a female voice. So I can use this as a base for making J.E. Ison's new voice through RVC, and then using that to create enough data to properly train a MeloTTS model, and then actually see if it gives good enough results for giving intonation and proper pacing and all that stuff, and having something that's actually usable for streams and such, right? Because if you listen to it, it actually sounds not bad, right? You can actually get J.E. Ison voice through this.
The fitness brand.
Like, it does sound like J.E. Ison. It's just that the pronunciation of some of the stuff and the pacing and all that, the intonation is not quite there yet because it needs more data. If we look at the most ideal case, like their base models or something, base models, testing, Melo.
Did you ever hear a folktale about a giant turtle? Did you ever hear
Like, this should be just fine, right? This is completely acceptable as a voice, even if it's not an interesting
a folktale
voice.
about a giant turtle?
Oh god, I think you trained too long. It's not supposed to do that. Oh right, I didn't actually show you. No, I only trained for, wait, is this 30,000 epochs? Is the 29,000 here 29,000 iterations? Because it was only supposed to run for 10,000 epochs. Wait, 10,000 epochs is 30,000 iterations, because each epoch was 3 training rounds. I think it might have overfitted. I think that's what might have happened. Because I let this run for a long ass time. But this was just the default. I checked again. The model I used daily, I trained up to 1450. No wonder my fucking training took 5 hours. I should have really tested it on a lower number of epochs though, because waiting for all 10,000 to finish took fucking forever. You left it going up to 29,000. Well, 29,000 was like its stopping point. If it actually didn't stop at 29,000 and kept progressing, then it would have ran up to probably 50,000 honestly. And yes, I know that is way too much. You have to check the model every so often, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I should have like paused the training every like, I don't know, every 5,000 or so to check up on the actual quality of the model, or even just have a graph to see the training outputs of it or the training evaluations of it. But I didn't do that. I decided to let it run and then go get dinner, come back, play some Colonist, do whatever. And I just let this run in the background for God knows how long. How long did this actually run for? I started at around 8:30 and I stopped running it. Or when did it get to this part? Yeah, this is when it started failing. All the way up here, I think. Yeah, this was when it last finished. So this finished at 1:20 in the morning. So it trained for, yeah, pretty much 5 hours. 5 hours for 30,000 iterations. Gosh dang. Yeah, pretty much what I'm going to be doing off stream is retraining this. Maybe I'll try it with the same dataset that I have right now, but I'll train it for much less epochs and check it every now and then. I definitely think I overfitted it because there's no way, right? There's no way that it just sounds like this after 30,000 iterations. But I also need more data. So I'm going to be trying with JE-Ison's current method of generating voice, get an hour-long dataset, run it through here to get to see the results that I get along the way. And then if that still isn't good enough, then I'll use the Jenny TTS, make a new RVC model, get a new dataset, and then train a new voice for JE-Ison. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been working on for this past week, I'd say. Or past 2 days, I should say. I've been procrastinating a lot this week, but I've also been pretty busy. Yeah. The things on the MCP side for JE-Ison for version 2.2.0, they're pretty much almost finished. I think the only thing we have left to do is just cleaning it up for configuration, right? We already solved the problem of needing a separate LLM for dual calling and all of that stuff. That works fine. I don't think we have an endpoint within JE-Ison's application layer for the API to configure the stuff. So we need to add some ways for configuration. Configuration loading, however, is completely fine now, right? I don't, fine. Yeah, we now have like a separate block for prompter, a separate block for MCP, a separate block for all the operations. And then we have some straggler parameters left, which, I don't know, maybe I'll clean that up later on. But I think for now, we're not going to be doing much this stream. I think we're just going to be adding some endpoints into our application layer and then hooking it up to our API. So it can actually be configured outside of here. Do I not have any of those endpoints though? Load operations from config, configure operation. Oh, I actually do. We have configure operations. Do we have configure prompter? I think that's the only other thing we need. Update prompt files. Oh yeah. These are all for updating the prompter configuration. Okay, this is all fine. We already have the stuff inside of the application layer, so we don't have to do anything on that part. We just need to hook it up to the API now. So I guess I can show you guys what goes into that. So for the new endpoints that we're creating, let's make one for update name translation right now. First thing we need to do, we need to come up to this enum and create a new, I guess, endpoint for this. We'll call this context update name translation. And we'll come down into our big if block over here. Create a new entry for this, and we'll call this for context update name translation as we had up there. And this will call the specific function inside of our application layer. So this is going to be configure or update name translation, yes. And this will take in the default argument, which should be the same for every single one of these functions. And so we have name translation. We also need character name, history and length, prompt files. Character name, history and length, files. Yeah. Context, update, character name, context update, history length, and context update, prompt files. It doesn't need to be such a specific name, but it's just good for my readability's sake. Context update, character. And prompt files. Okay, they should all be hooked up now, so that's completely good. We also need to add the one for the operations. Oh, and they also need to be updated a little bit because it's no longer taking type, it should be taking role. So these all should be role now. And there's no concept of loosely loaded operations anymore, so we don't have this loose key anymore. So we can delete this entire if block. And this is all role, so that's okay. Configure operations and Seems to be nothing else. Operation. Operation configure. Which process do you think takes the longest for JEISN currently? Define process. You mean like development process or generation, response generation? Response generation. The longest right now will have to be the actual personality response as well as optionally MCP, because both of those are going to be the largest models that you have to load up and run and or use a different service in order to get responses from, right? I think in any system, those would be the ones that take the longest to generate. And in our case, we need the entire response to generate before we can do any sort of processing on it, because we need to know whether we want to filter it or not, right? Inside of the older 2.1.0 that had component plugins and all that stuff, we originally had it so the response would just stream out and get processed directly while it's streaming, and then it would only filter or cancel the response if it detects that if the response is bad, but there's still a chance that it would have already started speaking that response before it gets filtered, right? But I think it's just better and easier to operate in this case if we assume that the entire text response has been generated before we apply any filters, before we do anything with it. So it adds a bunch of latency and is like the biggest culprit of latency, but it's kind of a necessary evil, I find. And if we want to reduce that latency as much as possible, then we're just going to have to optimize what kind of models we're using. Okay, so it's all hooked up on the application layer side. Let's add it to the API now. Did I actually hook up the events correctly though? Yes, I did. Okay, they're all good. So in this server, we need to add a couple new endpoints. Over here for context. API context. We'll put post. We'll do a put operation for context updates, name translation, and it's going to be context. Right, because my linter is using the installed version. Context, updates, name translation. I think it's easier if I just copy paste it from here. That should be fine. This part's going to be very simple to do. I'm going to call this config/names or name translation. Character, name. History length. It would be easier, technically, if we just combined this all into one configure function. Like, what is this doing? Yeah, it would be so much easier if we just configure this to be one thing. I should probably do. Why am I not doing that? Yeah, actually, let's change this. Let's change this all into one endpoint to keep things clean. So this takes the same arguments as everything else. But we should also take keyword arguments. Okay, for keyword arguments, we can take everything actually and have them default to none. Then during the actual execution block, we can check if that was provided by the user in that request, and then actually add it to the configuration call here. Stop raving to the pipes. It's not music, guys. This isn't metal. Just gonna do some very crude checking of his existence, and if so, then we'll add it. Okay, there we go. We have our payload, and now we can add this payload to our computer here. Is this the same for everything? And then we can, yes, that is fine. And then we need to broadcast the successful completion of this job. And now we can get rid of all of these functions because they are no longer necessary. And we have a singular configure endpoint. Now let's actually add this. Oh my god. You've regained your ears and then you've immediately started gambling. Oh, you've got issues. Am I a femboy? I've already told you, I am 200 pounds lean. I am Mr. Olympia. I could be a femboy still, but a bodybuilder with rainbow socks, if you will. Okay. For this endpoint as well, we also need to add the cores protection, allowing of cores here. Reflight. Should be fine. Context configure. Text. Okay. The next one we need to make is for operations config. Operations over here. Can be a post request too. Go, and once again we also need to add it to the cores protection. Wait, this is not right. Oh, that's probably why I got a bunch of errors for this. No. Now this should all be good. You got a VPN to gamble? That's when you know there's a problem, Haku. Have you ever considered not gambling? Investing your money in glorious AI VTubers such as myself. Kidding. I don't need the money. Okay, cool. Those are added now. Got it, will do. Immediately pipes. Leaves. Giga Chad. Alright, we need to add this to our documentation now, otherwise our shit's gonna be out of date. It is already out of date, I'm pretty sure. Fuck, man. Oh, the API.yaml isn't out of date, but the developer.md most certainly is. Context / configure, and this will be a put with tags, context, yes, configure prompter. Configure specific values within prompter, such as prompts. Names. And this is a normal job, so pretty simple. it does take in some input, so we need to add a request body here. Content of the request. Yes. No. Options to be configured. Required, true, no, not really, it doesn't need to be required. But for the content, we have object, nothing is required here, and it can have just the following. It can have name translations, character name, history length, 1, 2, 3. So name translations, this is an object with properties. How do I specify that it's just string values? Okay, I guess that's one way of doing it. I don't know how to set dynamic schemas for OpenAPI. I think this is good enough. Okay, that's good for that. We need to do the same thing for operations. Like, how did I do operations use? This takes op type, but an op type is an object with no properties for it. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. Operation configure. This is a post. Does this even need to be post? I don't think it needs to be post, but you're not sure. We'll keep it post. Do something similar. Required ops, yes. Ops is an array, list of operation identifiers, and configuration. Required type ID. How am I passing? Is it an object or is it in? Probably be role ID opd. Okay, yeah. And this should now be role instead of type. And we need to include MCP into this list. Operation role to load. Under that specific role to load. Timer. Fuck! Oh, you know what? Fine. How long have I been streaming for? An hour 13? How long did I yap for? Like half an hour, let's say? Let's just add half an hour on the timer. I don't think I've been coding for that long, have I? Oh my gosh, man. Let's just add like half an hour arbitrarily. Put this 21, yeah. Oh my gosh. I keep forgetting. Whenever I stream, I just keep forgetting about the timer. Yeah, I normally don't forget when I'm not streaming, but for some reason, being on stream just makes me forget. You should automate it. I don't know how I would automate it, is the thing. How do I automate determining when I am and am not like coding or working on something relevant? How can I specify like wildcard parameters? Can I do that with OpenAPI? I don't know. I've been using Waka Time to keep track of my code dev. But the thing is, the timer is not just for coding, it's also for like doing research outside and doing recordings outside as well. It's not just the amount of time that I'm actually dedicated to coding, it's the amount of time that I'm thinking about coding for this project and stuff. And if that's the case, then this timer is already wildly inaccurate because there's probably another additional 100 of hours of research on top of that, but whatever. It's just an arbitrary thing to keep track of when I hit 10,000 hours or whatever. For example, is there a way to indicate that in Swagger that an object may contain any number of properties with any name? Yes, it's possible. Additional properties. Oh, additional properties. Type string. Type object. Additional properties. Type. Type. What are they? They're not even like type string. They can be any of type string or integer or float. Can I do floats in this? Or is it decimal? What is it? Bubble? What the heck is it? Number. Be a string or number. Can it be anything else? And let's say no for now. Okay. And that should be fine. Right? Yes. Let's add this actually for context config, because this actually seems a lot better. For additional raw here, we have additional properties. And this is just string. Description. Untranslated key translates into given value. Okay, there we go. I think, oh wait, we need to update type with role inside of the rest of the operation stuff. So type, no, you are role, and MCP. Reload, you're fine. Load, roll. Just set up challenges at each hour or something? What do you mean challenges? And at each hour seems a little bit much. At 1K, Jason versus Nero. Somebody's gotta convince Vito first for that to fucking happen. And that's a tall order, I feel like. Unless if you guys somehow get me to like #1 tech VTuber of the year or something, I doubt that's gonna happen. Don't worry, I got you. What kind of magic are you gonna pull behind the scenes? Use E. Input chunk. Operation role. And wait, is this still operation role, operation ID? I swear I changed this as well. Use operation. This is role ID. Loose key no longer exists. The role ID and payload still exists. I have DM with him. Trust? Yeah, sure, buddy. Sure. Proceeds to send the collab check. Am I gonna get taxed for this? The agent fee. Operation. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. This should return back. Needs to include MCP as well now. Okay, I think documentation's good now. And developer.md, I'm gonna do this off stream because this is probably gonna have a little bit of changes before then. But I think that I'll need to test this a little bit more myself, but I think we're pretty much ready for beta testing on this version, which was pretty quick. I thought this would go on for a lot longer, not gonna lie. Oh, right. Okay. There was one more thing that I wanted to do in terms of MCP for JAISN. Probably not on stream, probably off stream, but just something that I want to make in general. So currently with applications, it's kind of like a one-way relationship, right? These applications request something of JEISON, JEISON does its own thing, and the applications listen, right? JEISON itself isn't really interacting with any of these applications. However, it would be really nice if it could, right? For something like Discord, it would be really nice if JEISON had the capability of just sending you DMs, such as if she were to search something on the internet, find something interesting, I ask her, oh, can you send me the link on Discord? And she'll be able to send me the link on Discord using an MCP or something like that, right? I think you know where I'm getting at with this. I want to turn each of these applications into MCP servers. That way, JEISON can not only make use of these applications and have integrations to use something like Discord or Twitch to make polls or VTube Studio to toggle certain animations and whatever, but it should also help with running JEISON by having these servers start up automatically alongside JEISON's core, because these are MCP servers that are automatically started by the MCP manager. So it's kind of like killing two birds in one stone, having more MCP integration while also having applications automatically start up with JEISON. I think that could be something that we can explore, or not explore, something that I'm definitely going to be doing. Is there anything else that I want to do right now? Because, I don't know, should we get started with this today? I mean, I'm not using the Discord bot for anything. Maybe we could, like, debug the local audio application a little bit more. You can also use it, check ChatGPT, for example, is working properly and switching over to the backup options. No, that's not what I want to do with Project JEISON. Having these other integrations is not meant for being as backups, but being as options that people can use as their backends if they want, right? I don't want to have to add this whole backup system because it just overcomplicates things a lot. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to be relying on these in the future. These are just options for people if they want them. But they really shouldn't be relying on having to have multiple of them. The original purpose was to have one and then you can set and forget. If a service is down, then yeah, it's not going to work for that entire session anyways. So they can just easily go to their own configuration, add their other TTS model per se, comment out the other one, and then just run it again. Like, I don't want to have to add the overhead of having a whole checking system and loading a backup and stuff like that. Because, like, what if they don't have any backups? Then what's the behavior? Just crash? Why not just crash to begin with? Well, in my mind, I just think JEISON as a Build-A-Bear of I cannot talk. Well, in my mind, I just think JEISON is a Build-A-Bear of AI VTubers. Exactly. It is kind of like a Build-A-Bear of AI VTubers, but I don't know. The whole backup system just seems overkill to me, and I don't think it serves a really good purpose outside of just, oh, the 1% chance that the model provider is down for that day, or the model provider is just being slow that day. I feel like you would be able to notice that, and then you should be able to just easily configure it. And besides, the end goal is not to have these integrations forever. The end goal is for it to be completely locally runnable, right? These are just kind of holdovers for now until I get more things polished. Personal developer preference? Yeah, personal developer preference. My preference is just not to have it. Anyways, what else should we do now? Because I'm pretty much done what I wanted to do with JAI Sin for today, and everything else I'm going to be taking off stream because it's just boring document writing. I mean, I could start turning these into MCPs. My mind is always focused on the 1% off chance that X happens. Yeah, but I feel like, okay, I would probably do it if I had infinite time. But the thing is, I've been so focused on so many little problems that is kind of detracted from my ability to progress on this project at the rate that I want to progress with, right? Like, I wanted to finish this entire memory arc by now when I started the new year, but I got caught up with trying to perfect plugins and then trying to perfect the refactor over the course of 5 months. Yeah, no, that was not like a productive use of my time. And considering how much more that I want to do, and the fact that a feature like that would be deprecated super soon, it's just not worth my time. Basically, you MVP ASAP. If you mean getting out MCP ASAP, yeah, I want to get MCP out ASAP. Want a minimum viable product? I feel like the prototype was a minimum viable product. But this is like a different minimum viable product. What would my minimum viable product be? Okay, wait. I can give you a bit of a roadmap of what's in my head. So I don't think this is going to spoil anything major, or at least I'm going to try and keep it spoiler free. But when I started, I guess the rest of the stream is going to be a little bit of a yap session since there's nothing else I want to work on at the moment. But basically, when I started Project JAI Sin, this current one, all the way back in, I guess I released it in September or August, right? Buy the cheapest views at givehakumoney.com. What the heck, man? But yeah, when I started this channel, when I started Project JAI Sin, or this iteration of Project JAI Sin, I had like a very strict roadmap that I was trying to follow, right? I had a couple of goals in mind for the channel specifically. For the channel specifically, I wanted to explore and learn areas of making a AI VTuber slash AI companion, right? I was trying to explore and learn areas in kind of like in a chronological order. So I didn't want to like skip to something like memory before I had a working VTuber working, or skipping to something like playing games before I had a capable AI VTuber working, or memory working, or something like that. So basically my roadmap at the very beginning, or this was the prototype, right? The pre-alpha stage, I called it, or version 1.x, let's say. This was basically, I wanted to explore making a bot, into make a chat bot, so with a text-to-text LLM, into giving it, giving it the ability to hold conversation. That was with speech-to-text and text-to-speech. And then last but not least was also giving it the giving it a body. So like expression with VTube Studio. And then at the very end of that arc, I was basically like, okay, this is all very nice, but it's kind of hard to use, right? So I kind of threw on at the very end, making a control dashboard or control board, yeah. And this was effectively the website we had at the time that was made in Flask, but quickly got deprecated once we moved on from this prototype. Limit add plugins back in? Shut up. That's a terrible idea. Maybe in 10 years. So that was kind of like the roadmap I had in the beginning, but that was just the beginning, right? I had more stuff planned out for, I guess I had stuff planned out for the next 5 years or so. This kind of like puts into perspective how long my time frame for this project was going to be, because when I said I wanted to hit 10,000 hours of dev on Project JEISON, I meant I was going to try and hit 10,000 hours one way or another. And so I planned 5 years ahead of time. And this was just like the first half year I had planned, right? First half year, not even first half year. This was meant to be like the first 2 months or so. And I ended up spending 4 months on that. After that, in kind of like the beta phase, or no, the alpha v2.0x, the version that we're in now, I wanted to kind of expand upon the AI VTuber, right? This is like minimal AI VTuber. This can be an AI VTuber, but it has no good features in it, right? This one I wanted to be a actually capable AI VTuber for just talking. This is kind of the phase that I'm in right now. I want it to be a good AI VTuber that is capable of holding good just talking streams. So this means having a good personality, having a good voice, and having good interactions, right? And what does this entail? Originally, I wanted to polish the TTS into adding memory or long-term memory. Long-term memory into polishing the text-to-text model into a bunch of different context stuff, adding more context. So this includes like screen view, code view, world interactions. This is like some of the stuff that I was thinking about, right? And this is kind of phase that we were in at the moment. There were some other like side quest stuff that I wanted to do, kind of pertaining to what we had before, but that's just mostly polishing that kind of stuff, right? Like polishing VTube Studio, that kind of stuff. All of this, time frame for this was kind of like half a year or so. I was thinking like, oh, if I had all the time in the world, if I wasn't doing like a full-time job or had school or anything, I feel like this would have been achievable in half a year, right? But I spent so much fucking time with other stuff IRL as well as editing videos that effectively a half a year has gone by and I haven't even completed this yet. So that's been fun. But this is just like still the first year of 5 that I had planned out. And kind of the rest of where I want to go with this is we had the control board in the past, and then it got deprecated with the creation of the alpha version 2, right? I want to bring back a control board. So this is now in beta version 3.0. And this is going to be an application for casual users, right? The reason why I am so like conflicted about how I am managing releases, managing installation, managing all of this stuff for Project JE Eisen is because I kind of have this strict view of what I want to do, right? When I want to release things, when I want to focus on things. And up until this is finished, up until we finish version 2.x, I wasn't intending to have casual users, people who aren't very familiar with coding or Python or AI VTubers. I wasn't expecting them to actually use it, right? It just happens that the fucking channel grew so quickly after I released the final version of version 1.0. Like, I didn't expect the community to grow this quickly and for there to be so many, I wouldn't say like technically inept people, but I would say people who aren't as understanding of how to work with Python projects, right? Who aren't as experienced with working with Python projects. And so it was kind of difficult for me to kind of juggle the amount of people who were expecting a easy to set up experience versus what I had set as expectations for myself, right? For an actual casual user experience, I was waiting until I get to version 3.0 or get into the beta phase before I actually start working on stuff like an actual web dashboard, an application, an integrated application for like a desktop application, integrated desktop application, which has the control board, which has the ability to configure stuff, and potentially also has the ability to run live 2D models. This would have been its own whole thing. We also would have had game integrations and better vision and context stuff. And that would be in preparation for, I guess we would get into the full release. Version 4.x, and this is a fully released application. And this would just be a polished version of version 3.x, as well as, I guess, getting into the robotics side of things. I wanted JE Eisen to not just be an AI VTuber, but to actually be an entity that can interact with and explore the real world. So I would start to learn about all this embedding stuff and starting to put JE Eisen into an actual body. And that would be where this journey continues. Version 5.0 would be when that entire thing finishes, completed body and such, and whatever happens from there, it happens from there. Add a full release exe file to start the project. That is exactly what I mean. I wasn't planning on having easy setup. I wasn't planning on having a permanent dashboard. I wasn't planning on having a .exe until at the very minimum I got to version 3.x. And once I got to version 3.x, I would focus my efforts into creating an actual desktop experience as opposed to having to run everything in the terminal right now, right? Because I can agree with you, this is very hard to manage. This isn't a very good casual user experience. This isn't really the goal I had in mind with Project JE Eisen. Something like a .exe, that's like bare minimum what you need for an actual desktop application for casual users, right? Whether if it's usable for Linux, debatable, but we're still going to be keeping the code version so that you can easily run this inside of Linux from a terminal. And I expect that if you are using Linux, then you are pretty competent with navigating code and actually installing and running code. So I don't think there would be a problem there. I think for Linux users, up to version 2.0 is already good enough for them, right? In terms of the setup experience. But once we get to 3.x, that is when we start targeting casual users with .exe, when we start targeting Mac and Windows users, stuff like that, right? And the ability to, The ability to run Live 2D, that's kind of up in the air because as I've continued to work on this project, a lot of these ideas have changed. Well, the big talking points of these, such as having an actual web dashboard, having an integrated desktop app, eventually going to robotics and all that stuff, all of those are still going to be there. It's just that the other things that are kind of like side quests or more optional, such as live 2D models and stuff like that, my ideas have kind of changed, and there are some more things that I kind of want to explore on the side. But yeah, that's kind of like the roadmap I had in mind for Project J.A. Eisen, at least a high-level overview of it. I have like a very extensive document which contains a bunch of spoilers, so I'm not going to show it, but I have a very extensive document for what I want to do for Project J.A. Eisen. There is probably hundreds of hours of efforts behind the scenes that you guys don't even see inside of videos or even on streams right now. So all I can say is we're cooking stuff in the back. End goal sounds like to be able to have anime waifus in the real world. I guess you can think of it that way. The actual purpose of it is not so much of AI waifus, but like just having, I don't know, your own kind of Jarvis, if you will, right? All these people with their home labs running their own AIs, being like, oh, this is my Jarvis or whatever, right? I want to actually do that. Have like an actual super smart home where everything is controlled and ran by a fucking AI. And this AI just so happens to have a body and have its own personality and stuff. I think that would be pretty cool. Don't worry, my programs don't have plan for exe files to start them. In my projects, you have to understand something close to programming. Yeah, because, okay, the only reason why you would have exe files is so other people can run your applications easier, right? Having exe files is a bit of a hassle for you as a developer. It would be much easier for you to just run the development version, right, and have that going. You would have to put in a lot of extra effort into making an actual compatible exe file, making different versions for them, and then releasing them. And only then will it actually be useful to you. But there's a lot of overhead into going and making those. So it's understandable that if the project is just for yourself, then you never actually make an exe. Because you already understand your code, why would you need to make it easier to run? Unless if it's really that much of a hassle to get running in the first place. 4.0, J. Eisen calls Limit Daddy by herself. 5.0 takes her first step and moves by herself. Exactly. Yeah. 2.x seems to be a lot faster than I thought, but we still have to explore doing long-term memory. And I guess I can talk about this a little bit more. What do I want to do for long-term memory? Right, because there's actually a lot of different options for what we can do. I feel like the solution that I hear most people in chat say or ask if I'm doing is if I'm just storing all history in a text file and then passing as much of the text file as I can as kind of like the long-term history across sessions and such. And I can tell you right now that this is a shit solution. Right? You have, why is this a shit solution? Because there is no collection by relevancy. This is super slow search time. And this is just an unfocused view. Just an unfocused view that bloats context, which slows things down. This is the worst solution that you can possibly do. Don't store your fucking history into a text file and then load that up calling it long-term memory. That is not long-term memory. That is just persistent conversation history, which is not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is something that allows you to search for specific, relevant answers pertaining unique to own experience, right? And so solutions for this can include semantic searching, or no, I shouldn't call it semantic searching. This is just a vector database, a knowledge graph. I guess you can consider a lore book one. But these are kind of like the three main ones. But within these, you also have kind of subcategories. And so for vector database, you have your semantic searching, but you have like variations of this. You have flat semantic search, and you have hierarchical. And the difference between this is the traditional semantic search, right? You embed your phrases into vectors, you store them into a database, and then when you want to search for relevant stuff, you search for the closest vectors to the vector of your input. And that gets you things that are semantically similar or similar in meaning. The problem with this is that it's still kind of like the same thing with storing all history in text. You're still going to get a lot of noisy input and unfocused input. And so a much better solution, which I want to explore, is hierarchical semantic search, which goes hand in hand with, let me just check if I have it. No, I don't have it. What I was going to try was memtree. Memtree. No. Fuck, what was it called? What was it called? I forgot what it's called, but basically it's like a graph version of flat, where each level is a different kind of scope of question answering. So at the top level, the least specific, you would ask something like, who are your friends? And then it would list a bunch of your friends, and then you would have a more specific level underneath that. And you would ask, why is J.A. Eisen your friend? And then it would have a whole answer for that. It would have a whole answer for this. And so basically, you would keep going down the list of questions, taking the most relevant question or the most relevant input, exploring that. If it doesn't answer your question, you look at the level beneath that for more specific answers. You again iterate through the same thing, go into a more specific area, and then try and see if that answers your question as well. So if I say, who is J.A. Eisen? It would first look at here, who are your friends? Maybe none of the other ones are relevant. Like maybe the other ones are like, what are your interests? What do you like? Stuff like that, right? Maybe who are your friends is the most relevant to this question, but it doesn't really answer who is J.A. Eisen. So it would go into here, and then it would ask the same thing. Oh, why is Limit your friend? It would look at these options, see why is Limit your friend? Does this answer this? Not really. Why is J.A. Eisen your friend? Does it answer this? Kinda, yeah. Let's enter that and let's see what it's all about. And then it would return this as its result. Something that's more specific, something that's faster to search, and something that is more relevant, as opposed to having this all here. Maybe it would still see that why is J.A. Eisen your friend? Maybe it still sees that it's actually the most relevant in a flat semantic search, but there's still the possibility that whatever contents we have inside of who are your friends may also appear quite highly and replace this entry as the top result. You want her to remember for every specific guide to remember what they talked before. Sounds like a really good organized SQL database that will be hard to do in more than one SQL database. You can do it all in one SQL database, and there is actually research on this very topic, which I was trying to show earlier, but I can't find the research right now. And it was specifically for an algorithm called memtree, which is just a hierarchical tree version of flat semantic search, which was what I was trying to describe here. It isn't that hard to implement. It is just like iterative semantic searching, filtering by level and whatever. But yeah, I don't think it would be that hard. Knowledge graph could be a very good option as well. It's not as good for a massive amount of information, which is what the vector database would be good for. But this is good for like storing very key information, right? Such as containing information about having an entry for friends, and then off of that, limit, right? Friends, limit, interests, coding. Something like that. It gives you direct relationship and direct entries talking about who and what, and describes what they are. So it's just like another version of vector database, but much smaller, much easier for you to manually manage and add specific knowledge or lore inside. And then you have lore books, which is like the flat version of a knowledge graph, right? I don't think lore books are that good, but I've never actually used them myself, so I wouldn't know, right? I still want to kind of explore this and see what it's all about, because I see it mentioned a lot, but I don't think just based off of my own impressions, I don't think they're that good. In fact, let's see, lore book AI. What is a lore book? And the more frequent questions like what is JISON and things like that, kind of, basically. What is bro doing? I'm just giving a roadmap of what I had planned for JISON, just to like answer some questions and stuff, and then talking about what I wanted to explore with long-term memory. Don't follow silly tavern lore format. I know, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying that the lore book format is probably not a very good solution, because it is, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to say that this is probably not a very good solution, but I've never tried it myself, so I at least want to see what it's all about so I can give my own impression on it, right? Like, I'll be honest with you, you mentioned stuff like silly tavern and all that all this time, but I'll be honest with you, I am like so out of the loop when it comes to a lot of this AI stuff, right? I've never played with Silly Tavern. I've never heard of Cobalt before you mentioned it to me. A lot of this stuff is like very new to me. And well, that is kind of like the point of me doing all of this stuff, is to kind of learn how to do this and expose myself to all the shit that's out there. But what the fuck is even a lore book to begin with? I'm assuming it's just a list of entries that explain like lore. Get the embedding of it, save it to the DB along with embeddings. That is literally what we have here, right? That is what we have with vector database. We also gave that a try in one of the previous streams. Inside of one of the previous streams, we have this database, our vector database, just for testing purposes. We explored that. That's like fine. Every time you talk to JISON, take current state of chat, like last 8 messages, and make that into embedding, then cosine distance. That is one strategy. You can try and add every single message into the chat, from the chat into your history. But at the same time, I do want to consider or plan around the possibility of filtering out what goes into long-term memory and what doesn't, and trying to do it automatically in a more smart way, right? Because as a human, sure, humans aren't AIs and we aren't capable of memorizing everything, but I feel like there's a good reason behind it, in that it by not memorizing literally every moment of your life, it acts as a good way of filtering out a lot of noise inside of your day-to-day life, right? When you go to sleep and all that shit, when you go into deep sleep especially, it is filtering out a lot of the garbage that is inside of your memories and trying to retain like the most important information or the most salient information. And so I kind of want to have that same kind of concept into Project J.A.I.SN, but maybe in a lesser degree, so that we can save the most salient information, the things that would influence her worldview the most, and have that be saved, because it would be like a good ad for future responses and stuff like that. If you were to add random yapping and whatever into her database or whatever, I don't think it would be, I think it would do the opposite in terms of creating a more interactive experience and just creating more slop slash just having less meaningful outputs. Newest message alone will not grab a meaningful state. So only meaningful info is I allow unis to refuse to save a note when asked. So only meaningful info is used. Yeah, that you can also use an AI to kind of rank or determine whether you want to save information or not. But I also want to see if maybe there is a better solution for that. Maybe we can train our own model to classify whether something is salient information or not. Do as you wish. I'm like beyond opinionated on this, since I built this very tech 2 years ago and did every experiment on Earth. I'm gonna go through the same experience as you then, because I do want to try and learn to like do experiments and test things for myself, right? Because that is kind of like a deficit for myself, I'd say. I'm not very good when it comes to trying to explore new possibilities and kind of do experiments to gauge what I'm doing. I'm trying to get a little bit better with that, like stuff with the TTS stuff. I've been trying to kind of gauge or measure the latencies of all of that stuff and then selecting the best options for that. And then, well, obviously we're coming around to just locally running Melo TTS or another TTS model, because that is like the best in terms of expressiveness and latency, or at least a combination of the two. When you get close to her full version, you can train her or fine-tune her with the chats from your streams to see if she gets better. It's debatable. I wouldn't know what exactly, oh, actually no, what was I gonna say? I'll see, I'll consider it. That would make J.A.I.SN do nothing but spam pipes. Is Neurosama any different? Is evil any different? Exactly. Yeah, no, if I were to use Twitch chat, then I feel like for the datasets that I want to use for J.A.I.SN, I'm going to be manually creating a lot of those, at least for the personality LLM stuff, right? Like, I don't know. Noel, how much data do you use to fine-tune your LLMs? Your text-to-text LLMs? Every AI VTuber eventually collapses. Lack of entropy is defined by metal pipes. Are we any different from the AIs if all we do is spam pipes as well? I only ever fine-tuned one LLM. I did that with about 160,000 messages. It wasn't that great because I forgot to add pad tokens. Yeah. 160,000 messages. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's a lot or a little for locally runnable models, but I know for a fact you do not need that much for something like an OpenAI model. But OpenAI has their own ways of extending your data set in the back, I'm pretty sure. So maybe that's a little bit different. Let's just search. How many entries to fine-tune LLM? Let's just see if this gives us an answer. 50 to 100,000 examples. Is this just for them? Multitask fine-tune LLMs, that require a lot of data. That's just a training. Oh wait. I don't know if this is specifically fine-tuning or what. How many rows of custom data is needed? Oh wait, you guys don't see this. Let's see, what does this Reddit post say? It wasn't that great because artificially extended your stuff. Yes. Don't worry, we will generate you messages here and she may become boring or brain dead. She's going to become brain dead, I can tell you right now. You won't find that much info. The minimum you want is around 20K. After some more fine-tuning experiments, I'll probably write all my stuff in my blog. Okay. 100,000 examples. If I wanted to make my own data set from that, that would take a pretty long time without a tool. And even with a tool, that would take a very long time. But we could make a very rudimentary one for the time being that's like automatically generated from a larger data set. More specifically, my data set is a single-turn conversation with about 6,000 characters in each row. And I'm fine-tuning a model with Llama 3.18 billion. The thing is, I have 10,000 rows of mediocre to bad quality data that I have already fine-tuned many times, which of course may give mediocre results. But if I go for the absolute best quality, it will take me a lot of time and resource to prepare, and I will maybe have maybe 1,000 rows, maybe 3,000. What does people say? Quality always. If 70% of garbage, then you'll get mediocre results. You'll certainly get better results if you spend the time to trim it down and make it good. 1,000 to 3,000 is highly diverse to the point where you could imagine fine-tuning on it for multiple epochs without overfitting a model catastrophically in one way. It might work. The way you do this is opening a chat on Discord and allowing people to talk to the AI, but you will need strong self-moderation and strong anti-slop measures, but you can generate good data that way. Okay. I might add a chatbot to Discord. I'm not gonna lie, I am surprised with how cheap LLMs are to run, at least for your own personal projects, because in one of the previous streams, I think the Terraria stream, I had J.E. Ison running in the background, even though she wasn't actually responding over Discord. She was still generating a bunch of like responses. And so for the 5 hours there, she was generating Twitch context, she was generating her own responses, she was generating text-to-speech stuff, and all in all, it only costed me 3 Canadian. So it is actually pretty cheap, and I think I can afford to add a chatbot, current J.E. Ison as a chatbot inside of the Discord for like, I don't know, I wouldn't have to spend more than $5 on it for a good year or something. Unless if people absolutely spam the bots. But you have to save the different versions of her for more funny streams where you have one of them running of more than one of them. I felt dyslexic reading that. Or you run a 70 billion RP model and distill it. Open router, my beloved. Oh, I don't want to run a 70 billion model. I want to try. I mean, what size of model I should probably stop the timer, shouldn't I? You know what? I'm gonna stop the timer for now. Yeah, pause. What size of model should I even try running J.E. Ison's, I guess, final quote-unquote model as? Should I just try like 7-8 billion? I mean, like, that is good enough, but should I actually try running a full 70 billion model? Seems kind of stupid, but I could try. I found Mistral Small 24 billion is pretty solid for really convincing conversations. That's what I'm developing Unicara on right now. 24 billion. 24 billion, how big is that? Is it quantized at all? I would assume it's quantized when you actually use it. Alright, see you later, Blue Diamond. About 13 gigabytes of VRAM at 4-bit quantized. Okay. How much VRAM do I have again? I have only 12 gigabytes on my GPU. Yeah, I won't be able to run it on my own system, but I am getting a second computer for J.E. Ison, so I can run her there. I just don't know when that computer's coming. Oh?
Kaimo 358 is now following.
Thank you, Kaimo, for the follow. It is an extremely horny model, bruh. Most likely, unless they have a few A100s lying around. Nah, you know, okay. You know Framework, right? You know the, actually no, you know the Ryzen AI Maxes? Seen you on YouTube? Surprised to run you into you here? Yeah, most people come from the YouTube. In fact, I don't know if, no, there's like a couple people who find me on Twitch and don't even know that I have a YouTube, which is honestly the more surprising part. The Framework thing is actually worth it? Exactly, that's what I mean, that's what I mean. I got a Framework desktop and it should be coming sometime Q3, so sometime the next few months, but I'm not sure when that's coming out. There are cheaper Ryzen AI Max machines, but I pre-ordered this quite a long time ago, and I did also want a small form factor PC, another one at least, and I didn't know GMK Tech came out with one, right? GMK Tech Ryzen AI Max. They came out with one and they actually released it. Oh, how expensive is it? About 2K? Around 2K. That's not too bad. It's around the same. The Framework one is a little under 3K, so that's like fine. But yeah, this is also good. I didn't expect them to also come out with another small form factor PC, but I guess it kind of makes sense because Ryzen AI Max is not like a big board or anything. But yeah, I got a Ryzen AI Max, and so that will be coming sometime soon. So I will be able to experiment with larger models, even like a 70 billion model I think is possible, alongside all of the other models that I'm using for J.E. Ison. Have you seen the Pyra AI VTuber? The Pyra AI VTuber. Let me see. Pyra. Pyra Raging. This person? Person? We'll see. God damn. Yep, this is definitely an AI VTuber, alright? So much AI art, man.
I've got so much music and sound effects going on. Okay, chat. Before I enable Pyra, where do we think we are?
I can't wait. I can't wait to give J.E. Ison the ability to have like vision and whatever, so that we can actually start doing some proper content streams.
I reckon this is somewhere like Mongolia or Kazakhstan. That we were not far off. We were not far off.
Bro, AI play GeoGuessr. Where's the fucking?
I'm getting like.
Where's the AI?
We've been to Mexico already, though, haven't we?
Like one of my chill streams. This is looking like the Minecraft stream all over again.
This car.
Playing Minecraft
Trucks
with
are in
AI,
the car.
Nah, just playing Minecraft.
Ah, okay. Yeah, okay, that's... Taking...
Bro.
Yeah, what country
Does
is...
the AI speak at all? Does the AI speak at all? Oh my god, you know what? Fine, we'll try a different video.
This week I...
The stress.
Oh my
Now,
god.
let me explain to Seleka how good our streams are.
So my AI daughters realised I was stressed and very ill, and they decided to create a therapy counsellor
Hey,
persona.
Ghost. You know how you always claim that I stress you out more than a pirate moment?
What the fuck is that voice?
Well, guess what? It's time for another chaotic episode in the life of...
That mouth opens so fast. I think it's like the same problem with current J.E. Ison as well. I probably need to tune the YouTube Studio parameters a little bit.
Oh my god, I've just looked at the
So
fucking
buckle
stream,
up,
lads.
buddy, because we're about to take this stream to a whole new level of insanity.
This ain't happening. It's too early for this.
Oh man, sometimes I really do wish that J.E. Ison was kind of a closed project, closed source project. Not that I don't want to share the code or anything, but just the fact that like having the freedom to code however you want and not worry about integrations is like, oh my god. Oh my god, sometimes I just wish for days like that. What functions have you put into your AI? Currently J.E. Ison is pretty bare bones, but she just got her MCP upgrade, so she has a bunch of new functions that at her fingertips, which honestly I haven't really explored yet. But she is able to use any sort of MCP server that is currently available. MCP servers. Like she has a bunch of stuff. She has a bunch of capabilities for memory, internet searching capabilities. There's probably MCPs for screen viewing and all of that stuff. Most of that stuff should already be here, but I just need to find it and actually add it into J.E. Ison. You could always spin off your personal project. Not every feature you add has to be in J.E. Ison. Yes, that's exactly the point. I was like, earlier in the week, I was like debating if I should start a new project for Project J.E. Ison and have Project J.E. Ison be kind of like a more polished mirror of that. So all of my ideas that I have go directly into that personal project, and whenever I have it like have enough experience with that, have enough time spent working on that feature and using it and then determining that it's good, then I could try and generalize it and have it more adaptable, putting it inside of Project J.E. Ison and then releasing that. But I feel like that will take a lot more technical time and I just need to find like more ways to save time, I guess, for not only like doing the coding for Project J.E. Ison in general, but also like making content and stuff on the side. Like, when was the last time I uploaded a video actually? Hold on.
This week I have been really ill, so I decided I would create Momo.
Hello, internet sluts.
What did she say? When was the last time I made a video? 2 months ago. Holy. It's been 2 months and no upload? Who is this guy? Yeah. I've been wanting to finish making the video sometime this week. And I did have a lot of time, I just procrastinated. So that's on me. Make a video? I'm trying to make a video. I have like, oh my god. What do I want to do? I want to make a video for version 2.2.0. I want to make a video on installation, but at the same time I kind of don't, but that should be pretty quick. I want to make a video on prompting. I want to make a video on the TTS. Those are 4 videos that I want to make, and I have pretty much all the footage for ready. Well, except for the TTS one, because I'm currently working on that. Oh yeah, and also fine-tuning a model, fine-tuning an LLM. Those are 5 different videos that I want to make videos for in like the next month. And I have most of the footage for it already. I've just been procrastinating on editing, because editing takes a million years. YouTube only viewers must think you died? Yeah. Installation video will make the Discord unbearable. Like, I'm debating whether I should make the installation video or not, because like I said earlier in kind of my roadmap, I don't really want this to be the version you install. This is like pre-alpha and alpha are kind of just like the learning phase. Same with beta, it's like there's prone to be a lot of bugs. Things are always going to be changing. And only until we get to the full release will it be like, okay, you have an executable. There's nothing that can go wrong with setup. Go at it. Video will become outdated? Exactly. Unless you're ready to delete it, don't. I think I can just make like a 7-minute uncut version of just installing it, because really, in my opinion, maybe it's because I have a lot of experience working with Jay Eisen and then reinstalling her so many times, but installing Jay Eisen, it's really simple. It's really simple if you know how to open a fucking terminal and install Python. Because all the instructions are already in the README. You can just copy paste them over. That's what I do every single time, and it's not hard. If you run into a problem, the most common problems I've also listed here. And so, do I really need to make a video? I guess I should, because a lot of people are requesting it. It's gonna go out of date really fast, yeah, but I also probably won't spend a lot of time on it anyways. High limit, high Avril. Oh shit, I just remembered. I need to go soon, but when do I need to go? I have to play an OSU tournament in like an hour or 2 hours. I need to figure out when that is. You know what? You guys can see the tournament sheet as well, I guess. When are we playing? When are we playing? Schedule. We are playing 7 p.m. 2 hours. 2 hours. Okay. You're not gonna stream OSU? My days of streaming OSU are long gone. I could just spend the rest of the stream warming up, but at the same time, it's like, fuck it, that would be so boring for you guys, I feel like. Don't be shy, show us your peak OSU gaming. Oh god. What else is there to talk about though? What games can Jay Eisen play? Currently none. That's in the roadmap of things that I want her to be able to do. Slowly develop her game playing capabilities for general like turn-based games, as well as making specific integrations for more real-time games. Yeah, currently nothing's implemented because, again, we're in the phase of just fleshing out our AI VTubers functionality in the first place, and then giving her actual content to work with in the future. I kind of want to look at this list of MCP servers though. and what kind of MCP servers we have currently available to us. I just want to firstly find one that allows her to like see the screen, and another one that allows her to see folders in my system so she can see her own code base, and then maybe she can finally keep her word and try to contribute to the project like she always says she is. This is not the repository I was looking at. There was another one that has a bunch of stuff for file viewing. There's one for file system already. You have one for knowledge graphs. You have one for sequential thinking, quote unquote. Basically just another model used for thinking, like a thinking model. Third-party integrations. Screenshot. Render website screenshots. No. Browser loop. We're taking screenshots. No. Sanctions. No. Is there really nothing for... Oh, MCP Vision. This might be something. Vision. I'm waiting for the Osu gameplay. Insert person of interest. Finch freaking out that the machine is modifying her own code. Oh god. J.E. Ison's gonna end up changing some random part of the code and I'm not gonna know and end up pushing the changes. Are you trying to do computer use? I want her to have computer vision and I want her to have context of her own code, so that she can talk about her own code during dev streams and whatever. But the main thing that I want is MCP vision or some sort of vision. It doesn't necessarily have to be vision. It could be its own application, asynchronous application. That would probably be better, but I don't know. If there's an MCP tool for it, we might as well give it a try. But I think we can make use of MCP Vision here for something. Vibe check. What is this? MCP server leveraging external oversight layer to vibe check agents? No. Puppeteer Vision. What's Puppeteer Vision? Use Puppeteer to browse a web page? No. OpenCV? No, isn't OpenCV. Is OpenCV for video as well, or is that just screenshots? OpenCV. I know OpenCV can be used for, oh, Open Computer Vision. Computer Vision. Okay. This might be good. OpenCV. Okay, okay. Check this out. You're gonna need a whole framework around a model like Hollow 17 billion. This one is Action Vision. Action Vision. For actions right now, I don't know if I'm gonna be using actions right now. Maybe when I get the new computer, I might let J.E. Ison have full control over her own computer. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. OpenCV is for simple image data extraction. Yeah. I was just wondering that maybe it could also be used for video as well, because really all video is just images with a tight temporal access to it, right? Try the demos? We're gonna try the demo for this. Use this model. I don't think there's a demo for this. Unless if I have to download, yeah, I probably have to download the project. What am I saying? I don't want to download it right now. Yeah, I'll bookmark this. I'll save this for later, but not gonna look or consider adding this for the time being. Scroll down, you're reading the web page. Results. This. Get started with the model. We provided 2 spaces to experiment with localization and navigation. Sure, navigation. Drag and drop an image here. Do I even have an image? Import UI image. What do you mean import UI image? I don't want to open this just in case. Hold on. Let me. I am not exposing my images folder. Yeah, it's a good thing I did not expose my images folder. Oh my god, that would have leaked a bunch of stuff. And it's spicy photos. Spicy photos of myself. Biggest narcissist I know. Let me see. Just... Alright. I got us an image. Let's see what it says about this. Type a task you want the model to complete. Can you give this turtle, can you give Beetle a mustache? I don't know what this thing is even for. Like, what is it supposed to do? What is like a task? Book. Oh, book a hotel in Paris. You need to take a screenshot. Not how this works. Yeah, I don't know what this is supposed to do. I don't know what actions this entails. Oh, you know what it is? It's probably a screenshot of your screen. Find something in image. Oh, wait, what? Okay, what kind of task would work for this? What kind of task would work for this? You know, let's just say give it a mustache. I want to see what happens. Give it a mustache. Navigate. Even though it's not going to navigate it. Let's see what it does anyways. I need to add a mustache to the turtle image. Answer. Content. To give it a mustache, you can use photo editing software like Photoshop or GIMP. Here's a simple guide. Anything else? No? Can you point, or no, point to the eye. Find its eye. The task requires pointing to the eye of the turtle. The eye is clearly visible in the image. Action, click element. Eye of turtle. X, Y. I don't know what the X and Y of this is, but that seems correct. Try the location demo? Oh, okay. I see. That's just for like finding stuff. Or like steps to navigate to stuff. But okay, once again, let us hide because I do not want to expose any top secret folders. Okay. Alright. Find its eye. Predicting coordinates. A little bit off the mark. Let's try again. It's gonna be consistently there, isn't it? Yeah, okay. That is not the eye. How about, you can share if you want to go viral. Viral with 11 viewers, that is a one-way shot to getting cancelled and never coming back. It was trained on screenshots. I mean, you know what? Fine. give you a screenshot. Can I paste? Paste? Allow. Alright. Open Discord. Let's see if it knows what Discord is. Where the fuck did it click? It clicked all the way up here. That is not Discord. Close the window. Close the browser. Ah, there we go. Look, I closed the browser. I guess this could work. This is like a is Playwright deterministic, or is it also using AI-driven navigation? Playwright is deterministic? Yeah, okay. So this is like an AI-driven version of Playwright then. For each navigation step, you would have to like wait a little bit and then take another screenshot, try and navigate, continue, blah, blah, blah. I guess that's how you could integrate this. But yeah, this isn't really something that I'm going to be adding for JE Ison anytime soon, at least. Not until she gets her own computer or whatever. Usually you have a mix of localizer and Playwright definitions. That's how Rabbit R1 works. Yeah, I can see that being the case. Maybe it can be like default Playwright because that's deterministic, but then if the Playwright fails, then it can try to use the localizer to get itself unstuck and then continue with Playwright. You're going to be going to sleep now? Alright, see you later, Haku. And I think if Haku's going to sleep, and how long have we been streaming now? We've been streaming for a little bit. I think now is a good time to end stream. Yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna be continuing to try and polish up some JE Ison's models before next stream. We're still gonna be doing a bunch of chill streams next week as well, especially since now we've finished a lot of the things that I wanted to get done for Project JE Ison in version 2.x. No Osu? No Osu. If you guys want an Osu stream, I don't know. Maybe I'll have a dedicated Osu stream for that. But yeah. Still going to be a lot of chill streams next week. I just want to give my voice some time to recover because I'm still not feeling the full feeling at my best. I'm going to check out what other MCP models I can give JE Ison in the meantime, as well as polishing her models. And maybe by next stream, she'll have a lot more capabilities and she'll won't be as cringe. Cross my fingers, pray to God. Yeah.
Go, monkey, go!
Thank you all so much for watching and have a good rest of your day. Bye. Bye.